Welcome back, my friends, to another episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Bible. My name is Rogan, and you are watching The Mysterious Stoner in a Bowler. Yeah, I just did that through my nose. I'm weird. Get used to it. No, it's actually a whole new way I've discovered smoking. Just inhaling these from these oil carts just straight through the nose. Maybe at some point I'll talk a little bit more about it, but this episode is not about weed and that kind of shit, so I'm not going to get into that right now. Today, we are continuing further on into the book of Numbers, and I got some stories for you, plus a little something at the end you're going to want to stick around for a special announcement that has been long in the making. If you're new to the channel, what we do here, well, to put it simply, I am an ex-Christian. And I was a Christian for a very good chunk of my life, over 10 years. And I learned the Bible pretty well, King James specifically. So, on this channel, I am just going back through. We're just sticking to the first 5 books of the Bible for right now because of how massive the Bible is. But we're just going through the Bible and looking at it from a common sense type of perspective. You know, what makes sense? Of course we try to take some things into perspective from the time period of when these stories supposedly happened. But we take it at face value and talk about how straight at face value logical this stuff is, and how much sense or how little sense it makes. I got a whole fucking series you can go check out. Oh yeah, I swear, I'm an adult, and so be an adult about it too. Unless you're, well, I mean, some Christians swear, so come on. But I mean, if you're a Christian that doesn't swear, or then sorry, you'll have to put up with that every now and then. It's just part of who I am. It doesn't make God angry. He hasn't struck me dead yet. So, and yes, I'm not going to talk about my beliefs. Let's talk about the Bible, because that is what is the fun subject of today. So, without further ado, I skipped chapter 6 through 10. Because honestly, that shit was boring as hell. I tried to read through it. I did find one of those. If you've watched my other episodes, you'll remember one of those laws that God likes to write, where if you break it or you don't show up, then he cuts your soul off from Israel, or whatever the heck that means. Of the multiple meanings we figured out about that. That was in there, and I didn't feel like pointing out the specifics of it, but you can go dig for it if you want. Well, there's a bunch of boring stuff in there. And so we're just going to cut straight to the stories, because that's what we're here for, right? The stories and the interesting, well, I like stories as well as philosophy and, stuff like that. The laws that are interesting, that are worth talking about, I think. Anyways, the stories. That's what we mainly want to focus on, and that's what we're focusing on today. Is nothing but stories. I have an appetizer, a main course, and then a dessert for you of stories. Yeah. It's going to be great. So, Numbers chapter 11. Starting right off at the very beginning. I'm just going to read it to you because it's only 3 verses long. That's how long this story is. Okay, so just sit tight. Hang with me. Here we go. And when the people complained, it displeased the Lord. And the Lord heard it, and his anger was kindled. And the fire of the Lord burnt among them, and consumed them that were in the uttermost parts of the camp. And the people cried unto Moses, and when Moses prayed unto the Lord, the fire was quenched, and he called the name of the place Taberah, because the fire of the Lord burnt among them. And that's the story. Now, if you're thinking, whoa, what the fuck just happened? Some complaining went down, God got angry, people got burned, and what? Like what all happened here? Like this is like a capsule pill of information. There's what the fuck nugget is going on here? But what I read to you is literally all that's given. People complained. We don't know about what. It could have been a perfectly good reason for all we know. I mean, we've had some stories here in the past that we've covered where God doesn't look the brightest. This version of God. He doesn't quite seem the most logical, the most sensible, the most like they're like there would be human parents that could do a better job than what God could in some situations. Stories like that. Where we have the entire situation spelled out too. But here, oh no. We don't even get to know what the people of Israel complained about. They just complained, and God said, I don't even care what it's about. I'm not writing it in my Bible. Fuck you guys. I'm gonna burn the hell out of you until you come fucking crying to me and Moses prays to me, and then I'll stop. Like, how bad of a reason does it have to be complaining about for God to start killing people? Like, just set a fire and just like he this fire, I don't know what made it the fire of the Lord. Nothing says that it was a special color or that water couldn't put it out. It didn't say that it was like a laser from like a floating chariot or anything like that. So we don't even have a clue if it was from an alien ship. It could have been regular fire for all we know. We really have zero clue of what was going on. We're just getting this tiny little backstory of why this place is called Taberah, because a bunch of people got burned. That's really all we know. A bunch of people got burned. Did God do it? But some say he did. And it's because some people complained. What did they complain about? Oh, it doesn't matter. You just don't complain, or God's going to burn you. But speaking of stories where it makes sense for people to be complaining or having an issue with God, that's the exact kind of story we have next. And this one is a little bit more famous. Not many people know about the last one, obviously, because it's only 3 verses long, and it makes God kind of look like an a-hole for not including what the people complained about. Because, it'd be good for the rest of us poor, stupid sinners to know what not to complain about so God doesn't burn us down. But apparently, God wants to keep us in the dark and have it be a complete surprise when we do figure it out. What a great God! Sorry. Oh. It's just. Why would you leave that story in there? Sorry. The next story, the one that makes God look even worse. Sorry. That's what all the stories are going to be. I'm sorry, but they're all right here in the Bible. Chapter 11. Continuing on with verse 4, we have this story. It's wonderful. God, okay, I honestly don't know how to explain this one. Moses has been a bit of a trickster, I think. I think he was a bit of a trickster, and I think Abraham was a trickster as well. With some of the things he did with the tricks in Egypt, and with some of the stuff he knew about the land of where he was leading Israel through the Red Sea and all that stuff. I think he had some geographical knowledge from having been through the area before. The story about the manna, if you don't know what manna is in the Bible, it's something that God sends down from the sky with the morning dew on the ground, and the Israelites get to go out and pick it up. It's while they're out in the desert. I don't know how the heck Moses would have replicated that. So either that story is complete BS and never happened, or aliens? We're not going to get into why I think aliens are real. But we will get into that another day, because I do have evidence I can share about that. Government evidence that they have shared themselves, and that's on the news that everyone can watch. Anyways, and it's even on YouTube. It's part of what I'll share when I get around to that. Anyways, Bible story. Enough rabbit trailing. Damn. The manna. Right, that's how we ended up on the aliens. The manna is happening in the desert. That is where this current story takes place. And yeah, they have other food with them, like cattle and stuff like that, but they're in the desert. And so there's really, like, they don't want to eat all their animals and stuff right off the bat. Like, they got to preserve it and make it last. Very different times. It's very different style of eating that they had and everything. So they needed some additional. It makes sense that they would need some kind of additional food. And so God was apparently providing manna for them. But over time, they got tired of it. Apparently, right after this event with the fire, they decided to complain again. And this time it was about the manna. They were tired of this stuff. Now, the description of it doesn't sound bad. Like, it was supposed to, like, taste kind of like honey, and you could do multiple different things with it. It says you could grind it or beat it into like dough, and you could bake it and make cakes out of it, and it was supposed to taste very fresh. And you were to gather it. Well, there were instructions to gather and all that. You couldn't store it because it wouldn't last, but God made sure that it would show up every single morning. the Israelites got tired of, I guess, collecting it and eating it, in addition to having it with everything else. I mean, they were getting it for free, but they were complaining because it's all they were getting from God was just this bread, or this bread material, I guess you could say. I guess they could eat it straight off the ground, from what I understand, but they do multiple other things with it. But they were complaining, because I guess they got tired of it, and I feel like if you've been living off the exact same, like if the vast majority of your food is one single item, even if it tastes good initially, you are like, if that's like 70% of your meal, every single meal, and you're eating, well, let's say they even only ate once a day, they would get tired of that exact same food pretty quickly, I'd imagine. Maybe they had to get used to. Maybe it would take them longer back then. I don't know, but however long it took them, they eventually just got sick and tired of eating the exact same thing over and over and over again. And honestly, that is kind of fair, because turns out the human body needs a lot more than just bread. It needs a whole bunch of different vitamins. It needs protein. It needs all kinds of stuff. It cannot just live off of bread. In fact, I forgot to look up the exact reference, but even Jesus himself said, of course he was being a little bit more, he was going from physical to metaphorical, but he said, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word of God. But even Jesus said it. Like, you can't just live off of one type of food. You need a variety. And so this complaint by the Israelites makes, in my opinion, total sense. Like, hey, we're getting tired of this. Oh yeah, because you know what happens if you eat the same thing, and you don't mix up your variety and stuff, and you don't get the right mixture and balance of food into your diet. You know what happens if you don't do that? You get sick, and then you keep doing it, and you die a lot earlier than you would have if you had been eating a properly healthy, balanced diet. So honestly, if God were doing his best, he would have made it a point to make sure Israel got a little bit better balanced diet. Perhaps. But, since he created humans, he should have known that they needed that, right? And he should have, when the Israelites came to him, he's changed his mind for humans before. It's happened in the Bible. Could have easily done that this time. Like, oh yeah, you're right. Humans do need other forms of nutrition other than bread. I'm sure some people think that God was magically putting all of the necessary nutrients into the bread. But come on, it's a little bit torturous to force someone to eat the exact same tasting thing, even if it contains everything they need, when you can provide other things that taste good and better and have variety and still gets them everything they need. It's torture to force someone to eat one certain thing. I think, and then and it, God could have been open-minded about this, but what did he actually do instead? When Moses heard the people weep throughout their families, every man in the door of his tent, the anger of the Lord was kindled greatly. People are so sick and tired of this manna food. They've had it for so long. Doesn't really say how long they've had it. From what I understand, Moses wrote these first 5 books of the Bible, which is something I'm gonna mention again later on here. So it with so many of the details that are being left out here, it's almost kind of convenient how terrible Israel is made to look, and how Moses is made to look, oh poor old me, and God just is just like, but even still, God just gets angry. He's just like, people are so tired of this stuff, they're literally crying in the doorways of their tents. They're it says they're weeping. Like that seems a little bit more serious than just complaining. Like, what the heck is going on here? Like, why are people crying about this? They're complaining so bad that they're crying? Excuse me. Like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Why they would be complaining so hard that they're crying? Like, what the heck is going on? And why would God just instantly be pissed off? Absolutely just gone, done. What does he actually do, though? This is fun. There's a bit of deliberation because Moses loses his shit a little bit with God, and it kind of conflicts with a different story. We're not really going to get into that because it doesn't completely make sense to me what goes down here, and I'm not a complete expert on these scriptures, so this could be a different story of something else, or it could be a contradiction. I don't know, but I'm just not going to get into it. And we're just going to stick with the quail part of the story, because that's what's more interesting anyways. So, oh yeah, the quail part of the story. Oh, I just gave it away, didn't I? What does God do? Well, if you know what quail are, then you have an idea. God decides he's going to give, well, he's not going to give them exactly what they want, but the people want meat. They really miss meat. That's a huge thing. And they can't just go right out and eat all their sheep and goats and all that, because, they need those to reproduce, to make milk and cheese and other things. And, they can't just eat all their animals right away. They just can't, but they really miss it, and they hate living off this bread. It's like, God, why can't you send us this bread? Can you do something else? And I don't know why God's pissed off about it, because this shouldn't really be a big deal for him. But he decides to give them meat, and a whole bunch of it. It says he sends a wind from, fourth, a wind from the sea. Yeah, a wind from the sea that brings quail, birds. And it made them fall by the camp, as it were a day's journey on this side, and as it were a day's journey on that side. So basically saying the entire nation of Israelites that were there are completely a day's journey worth, surrounded in quail. That's how many quail are all over the place, in the camp and outside. That's the perimeter, circumference. Can't think of the right mathematical term for what that would be. The diameter, the day's journey out, the halfway. Circumference is the whole thing. diameter is the whole way across. The half, whatever. You know what I mean. And not only that, it's not only that massive in diameter, it is also roughly 3 feet deep worth of birds. So however big these birds are, which I'm not really quite sure, but it said the person that got the least amount, like the average low amount that a person would get would be 10 of these birds. Mostly everyone else was getting like way more than 10. Like 10 at the minimum is what you would get. Because it was that easy to get them. And so God basically just like diarrhea shat quail on all of the nation of Israel. And according to the story, the people went nuts and were eating, like they hadn't had meat, I guess, in so long, or these were just such delicious type of quail. I don't know if quail is particularly delicious or not, or what, but these people were like going bananas over them and eating them a bit too raw. It said, and while the flesh was yet between their teeth, like while they were still eating it, that the wrath of the Lord, the anger of God, was kindled, burning against the people. And the Lord struck the people with a very great plague. So God gave him a bunch of meat and then made him sick as fuck because of it. And they called the name of the place Kibroth Hattaavah. Fun names. Why did they call it that? Because apparently it means they buried the people that lusted for meat. It's like, so it's, people wanted meat just, it makes people look stupid, but like wanting meat so bad, like that's how the story is written to make it look like they just wanted meat so bad, but it starts out that they were complaining about, they were weeping from having so much bread. So it's like they go from complaining to lusting for meat. Like isn't it kind of fair that they would want to do both? And then but because it's natural, because it makes sense, that because these are things that humans need. Like, why is God angry? Honestly, is he angry because the Israelites are actually right this time because they need the meat nutritions, and God's just upset, and so he just like he's mad because he hasn't been responsible with the Israelites and they've been craving meat for so long because he hasn't been giving them the meat as he should have, mixed in with the with the manna. So it's like, why is there anger here? Why is God pissed? Why is God killing people over something that is completely normal for them to be wanting? He's holding them back from meat for so long that they're crying in their tent doors about it. And then he's mad that they go ape shit when he dumps meat all over them. He doesn't even feed it to them in a bit of increments. That is the official way you're supposed to help a starving person come back from starvation, is by feeding them little bits of food at a time, not letting them go to a buffet and just go nuts, because then they will die. That happens. when a starving person eats too much too quickly. And that maybe that's what happened here. I don't know. That because like that could be like just the natural phenomenon from eating too quickly too fast. I don't know. But honestly, either way, I'm giving the Israelites a free pass on this one. I don't see why God should be mad and why he had to deal it out this way. But he killed a bunch of people over this, and it's ah, yay for Yahweh. But then comes the crowning jewel here. Oh man, chapter 12. It's a kicker. Short little chapter. Um, and the narrative of how it's written out, like if you're keeping in mind that Moses wrote these books, it makes a lot more sense with how it's written, because how it's written is a bit confusing. Aside from the fact that it's King James and is, we're not even reading it in the original or understanding it in the original language. This is a very like drained down version of what the original text would have said, but it's the closest thing we can get in English specifically for right here and now. So, and it's what most Americans, most Christians, I should say, that believe in the King James Bible think is 100% true and, totally awesome whenever God does anything, no matter how good or terrible it is. So, let's talk about one of those less wonderful things that happens right after those last two fun stories. So, Miriam and Aaron are brother and sister of Moses. Aaron is a high priest, and Miriam, she just happens to be part of the story because, well, you'll find out. And the way it's written, this is how it starts off. And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married. For he had married an Ethiopian woman. So first off, Moses, because he's the one who's writing this, says this is all about them just being a racist. That's what he says. The writer says. Okay? This is what they themselves say, according to the writer. Moses, whoever wrote it. And they said, hath the Lord indeed spoken only to Moses? Hath he not spoken also by us? And that's it, from what they said. Nothing about the Ethiopian woman. In fact, she's never mentioned again for the rest of the chapter. Fun fact. Hath the Lord indeed spoken only by Moses? Hath he not spoken also by us? And the Lord heard it, according to the writer. And then the writer, or Moses, whoever wrote this, throws in here in parentheses the whole verse. The whole next verse is in parentheses. Now the man Moses was very meek, humble, above all men which were above the face which were upon the face of the earth. So just this random verse thrown in here about how humble Moses is. Now humble generally means low, like they don't put themselves above other people. But it's funny, it says, the man Moses was meek, humble, above all the men which were upon the face of the earth. If that's not an oxymoron, I don't know what is. Moving on. So the writer says that Aaron and Miriam are making this all about Moses having married an Ethiopian woman. Miriam and Aaron themselves say they're actually just a little bit jealous of Moses because God is only speaking through them. Maybe they're actually just calling him out on his bullshit. And that maybe God is a bullshit part of the whole thing here that Moses made up. I don't know. But apparently God speaks up and comes down in the pillar of a cloud and stood in the door of the tabernacle and called Aaron and Miriam. Oh yeah. And they both came forth. Yeah, he calls him. Yeah, oh, I missed where he actually said it, but anyways, details don't matter as much. He says, "Hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known to you in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream. My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all mine house. With him will I speak mouth to mouth." Yay. I'm bisexual. I can make that joke. "And not in dark speeches and the similitude of the Lord." Okay, this is pointless. Okay, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against them. Basically, God's just mad again. This time at Aaron and Miriam. And what does God do? Oh, this is great. You're gonna love this. This is wonderful. He's angry at both Aaron and Miriam, right? So how does he punish Aaron and Miriam? Well, he punishes Aaron and Miriam by striking Miriam with leprosy. Now, silly me forgot that most of you probably don't know what leprosy is, so let me tell you what that is real quick. Leprosy has been around for a long time, and back in the day, way back in the day, during these Bible people days, back in the BC era, they did not have a cure for this, and it is a very nasty disease. We can cure it today, but back then there was no cure. And if you got it, you were done for, and you didn't want to catch it from anyone. It was a very slow, terrible death, and you would slowly like lose your fingers and your limbs, and it would like you could lose parts of your face over time. It was really, really nasty, just a nasty disease. If you got the stomach for it, Google it, check it out. But yeah, that's what leprosy is. Okay. And then it says, "Oh, were you? Well, you're wondering what about Aaron? Did he get struck with leprosy too? No, he didn't. He doesn't get struck with leprosy. Maybe it's because he's the high priest and this is like his get out of jail free card. Maybe it's because this god was invented by sexist males. Maybe. But anyways, only Miriam gets struck with leprosy. And so, of course, they both cry out to God. They cry to Moses. And Moses then goes to God and prays to God for Miriam. And this, I don't understand this 100% in its fullest regard. So you probably won't either, but I will read it slowly and carefully, and I think you will also still be able to pick up on the vibe that's coming off of what God says to Moses in regards to Miriam with leprosy. He says, "And the Lord said unto Moses, If her father had but spit in her face, should she not be ashamed 7 days? Let her be shut out from the camp 7 days, and after that let her be received in again." That was the verdict of God. Chapter 12:14. Like the most insulting, yeah, okay, here's what you do and she'll be fine, reply that you could possibly give. And apparently she got better. They did exactly what they said. It was part of their ritual for leprosy and everything, and they put her out from the from the nation, from the camp for 7 days. She had to be separate for that time, and then apparently she was better, and they were able to move on. It didn't say that she actually got. Oh wait, yeah, it actually says the people journeyed not till Miriam was brought in again, and then afterward the people moved on. So it's to be concluded that Miriam did get better within those 7 days, apparently. So maybe there Moses did something that made her look like she had leprosy or something. Who knows? It's interesting that they say they point out they have to say after Moses after it says that Miriam and Aaron were saying these things, like, has God only spoken to Moses? Like, hasn't he spoken to us too? Like, why does he get all the attention? The way it writes, the way it just sticks in, and the Lord heard it. Like, wait a minute, isn't God like everywhere? Wouldn't he automatically hear it regardless? Like, why insert that here and now? You know, with the way stories are generally written, I've read a number of novels, and I've dipped my finger into writing a little bit here and there myself. Typically, with the way this is written, it makes it sound like Aaron and Miriam were saying these things in private to each other, maybe, and or maybe with like a group of other people, maybe even some supporters, like some people who were considering starting a coup or something. And the Lord heard it, or maybe and maybe instead of the Lord, maybe it was actually a spy, and the Lord heard it. If he hears everything, why do you have to interject it there? Like, why not just have why not just have the Lord call them out and say, "Hey, I heard you saying it." Why does it have to say, "And the Lord heard it"? And then the Lord calls them out and says, "Hear now my word." Wait, come out ye three unto the tabernacle of the congregation. And then he says all this crap about, "Wherefore then were ye not afraid to speak against my servant Moses?" And he's talking all this crap, and then he only strikes Miriam. He strikes the one that isn't the high priest. Even though the high priest is replaceable, he's got sons. Multiple. He's lost two and he's still got multiple. And but he goes after Miriam, even though Aaron is just as guilty. I mean, is it because it makes more sense for Aaron to complain, but not Miriam? Like, even then, it's like, I don't know. Why would you strike one and not the other? Or like, even if you chose to only give leprosy to Miriam, maybe because she genuinely has a worse attitude, possibly. I don't know. I could see that, but with Aaron, like he's still guilty. So like, shouldn't he still like get something? So like, can you like strike him with pneumonia, or I don't know, something not as intense, like according to the sin, but like he doesn't get anything. He just gets the remorse of like seeing his sister sick, which is it is terrible. That is terrible. But like that's it. It it doesn't it doesn't seem quite fair to me. I don't know. What do you think? Leave your comments. Let me know what do you think about all these crazy decisions that and solutions that God comes up with to people complaining about stuff. Maybe with these things, maybe in this story it makes, I mean, maybe God's just so pissed that he's just ready to, or like or maybe this is his calm version. I don't know. He's been killing some people lately, like, and like really, Aaron and Miriam are like really choosing to mouth off at this point. Like, then again, these stories could be very far apart. Who knows? They don't really clarify those sorts of things here in the Bible all the time. Sometimes they do. I mean, they do, but not every time. And I don't know. I mean, God is crazy. He's burning people. He's he's not feeding them properly and then overdosing them with meats and making them sick and then killing them that way. And then I still feel like this is overboard with Miriam, like leprosy. Like, come on. I mean, at least he took it away, supposedly, after 7 days, providing it wasn't fake or something. Just temporary poison that Moses caused, perhaps. They did talk about. We did have that little thing about dirty water. Do you remember that? One of the previous episodes, they had this whole thing about testing unfaithful women, specifically women, not men, not unfaithful men, unfaithful women, by drinking water with dirt from the floor of the tabernacle. I'm not making that up. It's like in the last episode that I did from the Bible. Okay, it might not be the last one, but it was one of the recent ones that I did. That's crazy. But yeah, so yeah, Miriam got all better. So at least no one died in this one. Yay! That's why it's the dessert. No one died. Yay! We survived the wrath of Yahweh. We complained to God and survived. Yes. Like, damn. Yahweh is savage. Oh, but that's right. I had a little something to share with you at the end of this whole thing. Next week, if all goes to plan, which I expect it will, even if it doesn't, this will be coming to fruition very soon. but I am expecting for this to happen next week. Um, okay. Well, there is something I am doing next week. In the roughly the middle of the week, it is the surprise. The surprise that I have mentioned in the past. Not the ancient past that I had to drop. That was a music. Music may make a strong return. But this surprise is that investment into into a career that I have never done before. I have the skills for it, per se, but I've never actually done it. But this week will be the very first time that I will. And if I am able to find someone, which I'm sure I will be able to, and because I'll be paying them to do it, if I can find someone to record this event happening, then that is what will be shared next week. And you will see what the surprise is. If it doesn't make it, I am 95% certain it will be posted. But even if it is not posted next week, it will have officially begun. And videos that, well, let me put it to you this way. I shared my story before about how I used to be a Christian, what I went through, a bit of what I went through as a homeschooler, living as a missionary kid, and just some of my personal journey of what I've been through, and the roller coaster of beliefs and things that I've had to go through to get to where I am today. All that I've shared that in a form on this channel. That was the first thing I did on this channel in a very long series. I will be, you could say, doing that again, in a way, but in a completely different style and manner. And one which I think you will all enjoy very much. And I look forward to sharing it with you and seeing what comes of it. So, subscribe, stay tuned. Sooner or later it will be here, but it is highly, highly, highly expected to be here next weekend. For sure by this time next Saturday, I think. Perhaps even earlier than that. It's gonna be exciting. Until next time, my friends, stay safe, and until then, farewell.